happy to be here where this community understands the dangers of fracking and have taken a very important step to dealing with that. I came to suggest a next step that the town of Woodstock has already achieved, and that is to sign on to a resolution supporting what is termed so far temporarily a public law number 1, which would require the state to criminalize fracking and every aspect of it. And without taking a great deal of time, I'd like to give you each a copy of the resolution and the law that Woodstock has signed on to, and hoping that you guys will consider it and move on it by joining us. Let's get a statement together. Sir? And John? And the clerk? Aye.
You want to give me over to the supervisor? She's not here tonight. She's excused.
Okay. I don't think I need to run off any longer enough. You have the information. You know what it's about. And if we can succeed in getting more communities and municipalities to agree to this so that the state will be required, hopefully, to pay attention. We know that they don't pay a lot of attention. But this is a very worthwhile endeavor. So I leave it in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Well, I guess I'm a bit of a carpetbagger too, from Marbletown, but I just wanted to totally support what Jay has suggested. You know, many of us here have been up and down the road many times over the years, fighting off things like nuclear power and various environmental disasters, fracking just being the latest iteration. Well, I guess the pipeline they want to build through southern Ulster County is maybe the latest go around with these types of issues. And it seems they're always in the regulatory realm, and we're pleading for them to grease the shaft, as it were. But certain things, like fracking in particular, are just plain wrong. They, you know, for a whole range of reasons that most of us are familiar with. They're destroying water, you know, for the purpose of generating, gas for a few years. Some of the wells in PA are running out already, and so they have their greedy eyes on New York, and they want to just run roughshod over us. And these things should not even just be in the regulatory realm, but made a crime. You know, like smoking a joint's a crime. It doesn't hurt anyone. Fracking is going to hurt a lot of people and destroy the water table, and the companies say, oh, you know, it's safe. You know, the thing isn't going to leak for 5 years. But, you know, what about future generations? And why do we need to get every little bubble of gas that's out under there out in such a hurry anyway? I mean, maybe if we let these companies keep doing this to us, we will be the last generation, but hopefully not. And so that's why I think criminalizing things like fracking is such a great idea, and if our towns around here can support the state to make the right decision in that case, it would be a very positive step. Thank you.
Sir, can I have your name, please?
Sir?
Sir, can I have your name, please?
Oh, yeah, I'm Ed Haffmans, and from Marbletown, just, you know, a whiff away, you know, if a well goes bad here, we all... Haffmans, Haffmans.
Well, I can just say briefly, on behalf of myself, not speaking for any of the other members, I'm on board with you people. I mean, we talk about sustainability, environment, you know, this comes from Albany. And now they want to do the fracking in my eyes. And I'm like, how do you control if there's a problem when you're below the ground? And I keep saying, look what happened down in Louisiana when a mile down oil line broke and polluted the water, and they were all scratching their heads. So I don't see, it's like a zero tolerance. If they do something wrong below our feet, a mile down, how do they correct the problem? And how do they know where it's going to go and contaminate? So once again, I'm on board with you guys. And that's only personally for me, not speaking for anyone else.
Thank you, sir. If that provokes a brief response, may I say something?
Sure.
New York State is already being severely damaged and harmed by fracking. You may not know that fracking waste from Pennsylvania is being imported into New York State in the southern tier counties, where that fracking waste is being poured into old wells, dumped on landfills, and I don't know all the details of this, but
No, well, you had missed it. A woman, Jeanette, I forgot her last name, that lost me. She came in and gave a whole detail to her and her family visited Pennsylvania. She came back with water samples and everything. So I wish you were here to see. She was very explicit, very good information. So it would have been very good if you were here to see that. But thank you.
thank you. Thank you all.
Hi, my name is Joanne Myers, and I also live in Marbletown. It doesn't matter, this whole issue does not, respect town boundaries. And I would also want to urge you to do the criminalization in addition to the ban, since you already have. Once the water is gone, it's gone. And it recycles in like 30,000 years. We're drinking water that from the dinosaur age. It takes that long for it to go back around and be drinkable again, and so forth. So we feel that it's a crime, and the oil industry, and GE, they were fine at least, but the gas industry is exempt from all environmental regulations, from the Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, NEPA, all those things. So if there's a problem, they will not pay a cent. GE we've been able to get them to pay billions for cleaning up the river. But if they do a pipeline under the Hudson River, they won't pay a cent. And they don't tell us what's in it, and they're not going to they won't be punished at all. So we're saying make it a crime, which would make it that they would be fined, perhaps. Question what amount is, just debatable, and that they should be maybe put in jail, because and that their corporate license should be revoked, which is some of what is in that public law number 1. So I want to give you a copy of our bumper sticker that says "Making Fracking," and if you go to either of those websites, there's more information. And this is a publication that the No Frack Almanac, coming out of western part of the state, with an article about why fracking is a crime. Woodstock is leading the way, but Rosendale is right behind them, I think, leading the way with Fortis, and this is all connected. Fortis is very much into cheap Marcellus gas, and they're going to be taking over Central Hudson unless we stop them. So a pipeline in Ulster County, Fortis Pro-Gas taking over Central Hudson, I think, and all this is connected. It's all coming, they're all around us. And I don't want to take any more of your time, but I would urge you to consider this, and we'd be happy to give a more presentation or answer any questions you would have.
Thank you very much.
Does anybody else have anything that's on the agenda? All right, move to our first item. Billy, I'm gonna call on you first, though, just, any new changes in the site plan for the Rosendale Street Festival?
I think I italicized the change. But there is an issue that has come up since I submitted this, and that UCAT is requesting that in addition to the fuel reimbursement, they also want to be paid for their drivers. So that adds about another close to $1,000 into our expenses. So right now we're seeing about Bernie Mulligan, what they can offer us in lieu of, but we're not sure who the actual shuttle operator is going to be at this point in time.
Right.
And all the dates should be correct, Bob.
That's my next question.
Come on, there's gotta be one.
There's gotta be
There's gotta be one, Billy, come on.
No, she'll check them out.
There's none.
You spelled it down wrong.
Harry and Carl both said that their costs from 2012 should be very similar to 2013. Yes, there is a change, Bob. In page 8, number 15, in the past we had something that bicycle passes for
15 's on
people
page 9.
people bring their bikes onto Main Street. That has been deleted. They're now on 32.
On 32?
Yeah, they're over at Bank of America.
Okay, right, okay, gotcha.
Still no snakes, right, Bill?
Still no snake.
Good.
They must have been on leash though.
Slightly, yes.
Just at the bike shop. All right, so we're gonna probably vote on this next week. A week over.
Any changes, let me know, and I'll get into the final draft. There are some of the Mercy contact numbers, like, I don't have Billy McNamara's yet, but I should get, we have a meeting tomorrow, so I should get some of the additional phone numbers that I don't have, should have them tomorrow.
I think Billy's the only one changed this year. Out of all the fire chiefs in towns.
Yeah.
Any questions for Bill?
My question's been asked and answered.
Many years in a row.
Down.
All right, next one we'll bring up is Ron for his site plan with his Rosendale Rocks the River.
I have a poster board. Where could I set it up so that both the board and the people can see it?
Set it right there.
Let me know where it is. Is that, yeah, can you all see that?
That's much better.
Can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm trying to look at
You can see it. So, it's nothing like the street festival. It's contained on my property. I've had between 125 and 175 people in the 6 years I've been doing it. This is the 6th year. There's a stage that I erected 6 years ago, right over here. People just sit on the berm and enjoy local bands. There's about 10 bands. Starts at noon. We're done by 10. And it started out as kind of like a real homespun community event to try and generate local business. I don't do any food vendors. I don't sell alcohol. I encourage people to go to the Brick, the Bywater, the Rosendale Cafe, the bakery, local places to eat and spend their money. And that's really it. We haven't had any issues. About 3 weeks before the event, once the posters are done, this is just a draft of the poster. When it's complete, it'll have the list of all the band names on it. Right now, I just put on the date, the time, and the address. And you've got copies of it. Sorry for the black and white copy.
Ron, what's your parking plan? The parking plan?
The musicians park here. There's enough space for all the musicians. Most of the people, I encourage people to ride bike, come in. A lot of people walk. The people that do come in by car, I ask them to park in the municipal lot behind the movie theater. Parking's never really been an issue. I haven't heard any complaints from people about parking.
And
Like I
your
said,
spillover-
before the,
Your spillover goes to the other businesses anyway, right?
yeah.
People- your event-
I have heard from Billy at the Red Brick Tavern, Estelle at the bakery, people at the Bywater and at the 1850 House, that they see an increase in business when I do this. So I see it as a win-win situation.
Ron, the only issue that I'm going to bring up tonight
Sure.
is, and we've heard it in the past, a couple of people along, especially the James Street
Yep,
area.
I have 3 people that have
Yep.
complained. 2 of them have complained directly to me.
Yep.
I've already talked to 2 of them. I have not talked to the one, I won't mention names.
Yeah.
I think I've assuaged those 2 people's fears. As a matter of fact, my next door neighbor, I said I wouldn't mention names, one of my neighbors is fine with it. I talked to them the other day, and they said, as long as the music's done by 10 o'clock, you let us know what day it is. And one of the people on James Street, I also informed them about a week and a half ago, once I knew the date, and she said, "Oi," and I said, "At least I'm telling you."
What did she say?
Oi, something like that. I don't know. Really, you can do? Her exact words. You're still gonna do that? And I said, "Yes, I'm still gonna do that." But I'm letting you know. So
I apologize, I made a mistake, because I told all the residents on James Street that you hired a Trailways bus and was giving everybody $500 to go to Atlantic City. So I'm sorry if
you
I...
got part of it correct. There is a Trailways bus that does go to Atlantic City.
Ron, the only other thing I'd bring up is, have you contacted the police department with regard to the dates and the particulars?
Okay, you must have missed that part.
I'm sorry.
About 3 weeks before the event, once the poster is complete, I also provide work for my graphic designer. I bring it to Lynn at the police station. In the past, I've talked to Perry, Rob Fisher, and the previous chief of police, I forget his name now. I give it to them. Probably I'll have the posters done by the beginning of June. I let them know the date, the time. They always ask me one question, and it's always the same: are you going to be selling alcohol? And my answer is always the same: no.
That's good.
Any
Is it a
questions?
fundraiser for any particular thing?
The first year we did it, I had friends who were starting up a CSA, local farms, and we used it as a fundraiser for that. Unfortunately, we raised like $200. It's not a money-making event. I usually pay out of pocket about $400 or $500 once everything is said and done. So it's not about the money. It's really about providing a nice outdoor venue for local musicians. And I don't know if any of you have been there, but I get rave reviews every year. People bring their kids, they go down to the river. Last year I had a friend of mine who's a biologist take about 10 kids on a river walk, and they turned over, rocks and looked at newts, and they all had a great time.
Do you charge to get in?
Hmm?
You charge to get in?
There's a suggested $10 donation. It helps offset the cost of the sound and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Can I get on your email list? Do you
Uh,
have such a thing?
No, I don't have it. But I usually put an ad in the paper.
Okay.
The Bluestone Press usually covers a story like a week or 2 before. It's June 22nd.
All right.
It's a Saturday. It's all day. It's outdoors. It's right across from McCoy's Guitar Shop and next to Bill Brooks. Bill's been very supportive in the past. I have almost I would say 99% of the people I talk to enjoy it.
Except Mrs. Leve.
Boy,
This is like, hey.
One I'm going to throw
I
out
do
there,
my best.
I don't know if you've heard, but our pool's broke. And we're trying to raise a few bucks, so if there's a bucket there and people want to throw in coins, we take everything from dollars down to pennies. I roll pennies, and I will continue
1 year,
to roll pennies until we get a pool.
somebody's dog broke their leg, and they asked me if they could take up a collection. So they have the picture of the dog with the broken leg. Well, it was like a $3,000 operation. And yeah, people put in like $150 by the end of the day and gave it to me. So, sure.
We'll take anything. We'll take anything.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
It's just music or exhibits or like food?
I don't do food because the part of the idea behind doing kind of like a homespun event is to encourage people to use the businesses in town. That's why we started it. I did last year have one of the local farms set up a booth where they were selling, I can never remember the name of the Spanish food, the corn husk and the...
Tamales.
Tamales.
Tamales, that's it, tamales. So they came and set up a booth and they sold tamales. But no, I don't do fried dough vendors and beer distributors and people selling balloons. It's pretty much a free event once you're in and you pay the $10 that goes to the musicians and the sound guy and to offset the cost. I rent a couple of porta potties, keep it clean. So there's a lot of work involved getting it up, but it's really to just kind of bolster community involvement and get people to come into town. Luckily, the last 2 years, the town has really picked up, and businesses seem to be doing much better than they were 6 years ago. But we're going to continue to play music and have a good time.
Good for you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, the draft annual report for stormwater management is in. There's copies available at the building department. Joe Mim will be here next week from Bernier and Larios to discuss the report to be handed in. And you'll have a copy of that.
I just want to mention a couple of things because it's so related to this topic. One is that I should, thank you. On May 8th, there's going to be a green infrastructure conference, and I believe it's at Vassar College. And if anybody wants to get that kind of training, each year they get better and better, and we have more information, we have more good examples. And that's really what green infrastructure addresses stormwater management by encouraging the water to re-infiltrate into the ground and not run off. And there are a lot of different ways of doing that. Some are very creative, but I went through this and it's looking good, and it's just if people attend that, especially if municipal officials or people that are working for the town attend it, then that meets one of the minimum requirements for an MS for stormwater management, because education is one of their goals. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I talked to Jean about this, and I just want people to know about it because of the Round Top Creek Watershed Council. Things have been sort of quiet. We haven't had immediate pressing issues, although preventing or dealing with flooding is an ongoing issue. But Riverkeeper came to the Environmental Management Council last week, and they did a presentation on their report on sewage called How is the Water 2012. And one of the things they've found, we knew that there were pockets of pollution throughout the Hudson, usually associated with or often associated with sewer systems, and they were looking for enterococcus, which is indicative of a sewer overflow or discharge that is, and in this case, many of the sites that they tested along the Hudson were unacceptable, but and I think people kind of expected that. We're working on it, we're trying to improve it. But the sites along the tributaries that we thought were clean, when we did the Round Top Creek Watershed Council study, our watershed came out low, only slightly impacted based on looking at the critters that are living under the rocks in the streams. And This contradicts that. So I think we're going to try to reactivate Amanda Laval from the County Environmental Management Council is going to see if some of the EMC folks and local environmental commissions and also the watershed councils want to come together and try to understand what's going on. Why is it that a standard measurement of, they call it benthic macroinvertebrates, but it's basically looking at the critters, tells us we have very little pollution, and yet there are a lot of failing grades in the Riverkeeper study. This doesn't show each individual watershed. It just focuses on the Hudson, but it explains that finding. So we want to look at they have the data and they gave us copies of it. It would be the Wallkill, the Round Out, the Esopus, the major watersheds in Ulster County. So it's so related, and I wanted to mention it. I thought I'd take a minute, 2 minutes, I'm done.
Yes, John?
Is DEC going to be here next week for the MS4 report?
No, Joe Mim from Benarin Larios he will not be here.
Okay.
Glad you're back from Florida, Joe.
The sun,
For anybody, we talked about first in Rosendale. John Misely actually drafted our stormwater plan that was actually adopted by the county and several other towns throughout the county. So another homegrown thing that came first through Rosendale as far as stormwater.
I wanted to know the DEC law was. The DEC said they were going to require all the towns to go and have stormwater management in their local municipalities. They have not done that. And they keep saying, DEC keeps saying, well, we're waiting for the federal government. And I say to DEC, well, Pennsylvania's done it, why can't New York? And it's really serious because the fact is all the municipalities upstream from us do not have stormwater management. And you look at the history, back in the 40s and 50s, if we had 1 inch of rain, this is one of my wife's relatives, we got a foot of rise in the creek. Now we get 1 inch of rain, we get 2 to 3 feet rising. And the reason for that is impervious land, the impervious portions, parcels upstream, and the water just runs right into the creek. And so,
because the only thing they're guided by right now is the MS4 district, which that doesn't include those areas.
yeah, and so I don't understand why DEC is dragging their feet, but they've let us down seriously because they said once we put in an MS4 system, that within a few years afterwards, everybody's going to be required, and they haven't done it.
John, it's only been, 6 years?
Yeah, it's just, that was cool.
All right, last thing on the agenda for tonight is just to review a contract for Etched stone. This will be pavers that the revenue generated for the pool. And other than that, there's some dates to remember. Paws and Tail Pantry on Main Street is going to be having a rabies and distemper clinic on May 18th, 11 to 2. That's for dogs and cats. You don't need an appointment. So that's on there. And that's pretty much it, other than what's on the agenda. Rosendale Farm Market on Sunday, May 10th through the 12th, the Wildcat Weekend Bike Race. That's throughout the whole town. And then May 19th, car show for the youth center.
You know what, I'm surprised it's not on here since we're not going to meet again until June after next Wednesday, the Memorial Day Parade.
I was thinking the same
Yes.
thing.
There is in your packet, if you care to look, is Memorial Day Parade.
I'm sure there is, but to let this out publicly, I'm surprised it's not included.
We have a meeting next week.
That's why I said I know we have one. Don't get tested with me, Jen, if you had a day at work.
Yes, Jen.
I'll announce this week and next week. On June 9th, Sunday, June 9th, is the Rosendale Earth Fest right here, outside under the pavilion. Always a fun event.
What is that, June 9th?
It's a Sunday.
It's a Sunday.
One more. Just going back to the Wildcat Weekend Bike Race. You see on the agenda, it says Friday, May 10th through Sunday, May 12th. Friday, May 10th, there will be a spaghetti and meatball, or a spaghetti dinner here at the rec center, put on by this organization and catering specifically to the bikers the next day to carve up. But it's opened up to the general public. And all the money that's raised on Friday night, they're going to donate to the pool fund. So, again, I know you said, got here in the pool, but if anybody heard, it's broken. We need a new one.
And you can come out on Saturday to Willow Kiln Park at around 11, 12 in the afternoon to cheer them on, because that's when most of them will be coming back through and up over Joppenberg.
Yep.
Oh, neat.
Yeah,
Because they're kicking off like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I like your 12 o'clock.
yeah. So they go and then they circle back around and then up over the mountain. So we'll catch them at noon, yeah.
How early do they start now?
The race starts at, I think, 6 o'clock out of Rule.
Yeah, 6:45 they start. I think it's going to be right off Main Street, on Main
They
Street.
definitely start way before my rooster crows.
And I think the
12 o'clock
same
is barely.
day Councilman Gallagher's having a spaghetti dinner at his house. It's going to be free to the public too.
Let's pay bills.
Before we pay bills, I would just like to let everyone know that today, Dan Duffy, who many people have met now, submitted to the Public Service Commission a motion for an evidentiary hearing and recommended decision. And in the case of recommended decision, the Public Service Commission has already agreed to do that. And a petition in opposition to the merger of Fortis and Central Hudson Gas and Electric Corporation on behalf of the Citizens for Local Power and the consortium in opposition to the acquisition. It's a very long document, and it's been summarized very nicely in an executive summary, which I passed around to the town board. So we now have 10 municipalities that have opposed. Orange County is considering a resolution tomorrow. And it seems like every day, I think next week, the city of Poughkeepsie will be at least discussing it. We don't know how that will turn out, but I know there are now ads in the papers, big full-page ads stating what Central Hudson, who is directed by people who stand to make a lot of money if the Fortis acquisition goes through. And I just always have to qualify that, because most of us really think very highly of Central Hudson. And so this isn't against Central Hudson. It's a concern about what will happen if Fortis acquires Central Hudson. And the only people that are really going to make out well by that are a small handful of top executives. And their severance package, their separation package is extremely high, and that doesn't leave much for the rest of us.
Councilwoman Green, I think the thought is great, but I think that, it's way out of our hands. I think the deal's probably going to be done. It's kind of like the closing of schools, when you had public hearings and that for it. They knew that they were going to do that. They just let the people come to vent. And I think this is the same thing. This is so far above our community and our town and the things that we really have some effect on. And this is just me personally, my personal feeling. I think it's a great idea to try to stop it. I mean, our government says to us they want to bring manufacturing back to our country. They want to struggle, and then this happens. It makes me scratch my head, but I thoroughly believe that it's out of our hands, and it's probably a done deal already. And I support you. I mean,
the Public Service Commission legally has to act in the public interest, and we think, take a quick look at the executive summary. We think there's some really strong evidence that this is not in the public interest. So we'll see what they do with it. But the ball's kind of in their court now. And I really feel like this is an issue of democracy. Sometimes you just have to stand up and say, this isn't right for any of us, except for a very small handful of people that would benefit very disproportionately to the rest of us.
Anna? And the people in Belize are still fighting the stuff that Fortis started. They've been fighting court cases and stuff since 1999, so I think we at least have to try to give it a shot so that we don't need to be fighting for 14 years if we can just nip it in the bud before they take things over.
It seems to me when this whole thing started that it was a rather benign process, that not a lot of people were aware of it. They just sort of sat back and read in the paper that this was going to happen, and we kind of just, okay, went along with it until some people took a good hard look at the implications that it could have. And I believe we're taking the right course here by questioning every step and specific to the, to the workforce. There's a whole lot of issues that you can sit down and bring forth with regard to the opposition, or at least the additional conversation that we should be having. But my own personal attachment to this is the workforce. That I truly believe, and I've done some research with regard to this company, and if anybody in this room believes that 3 years from now there'll be just as many Central Hudson workers working in our town, and we do have a good amount of Central Hudson workers that live in this town, pay taxes in this town, support the businesses in this town, and if anybody in this room believes that 3 years from now that those same people will be employed, it's not going to happen. So that's my bone of contention, being a labor leader in this county for the last almost 30 years. So, there's a number of other legitimate issues. So, if anything, to your point, Councilman Bryan, I hear what you're saying, and I hope it's not a done deal. But if anything, I hope that a discussion that comes out of this will at least shed some more light on the Fortis' intentions, or at least get them to the point where they'll make some longer-term commitments to this area should the sale go through. So, everybody's got their own little area, and that's mine, the labor force. And to that point, we've gone through, in the past couple of years, some severe storms that has hit this area. And I, for one, am very impressed with the way Central Hudson handled themselves and got us back up and running shortly thereafter. And that concerns me also, that that level of service isn't going to be there under the Fortis administration. So, that's it.
Yeah, I understand that, I'm not sure if you're the head CEO, but one of the main echelon of leaders of Fortis is at Central Hudson headquarters this in Poughkeepsie all week, willing to accept calls for comments and questions. It was in the Freeman. There was a number to call, which I didn't know we were going to talk about tonight, but you could find out, I'm sure, and get some comments to this guy. I think they're feeling the pressure. They wouldn't be putting ads and feeling a need to respond if we weren't hitting some really hard things.
Okay, motion to pick bills.
Okay.
Okay, Glenn?
We're done.